Democrats can't seem to figure out why folks aren't buying what they're selling. But former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, he thinks he has it figured out.
I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it. No, I'm serious, because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not on this. Yeah. I'm not putting this in people's grill. I don't know if my identity is not hunting. My identity is not football coaching. My identity is not, a beard and a truck. I like all those things. But how did we get to this where have they figured it out that the identity piece of this is more important than the actual substance behind it?
That is so rich. They just spent years telling us that your identity is the most important part of your character, that your skin color precedes exactly your merit or whatever makes up the inside of your soul. So let's see what my next guest thinks. He's the former New Hampshire Republican Governor Chris Sununu, and he's also mulling a bid to flip the Senate seat in that key swing state. Chris, good to see you. First of all, I don't know if you're afraid of Tim Walz, but he says he could whip a lot of people. He could whip you, Chris.
Yeah, look, I know Tim. He's a nice man, but I don't know if he knows his identity. I don't know if he knows what he's about. And clearly America doesn't either, which is why they rejected him and Kamala so resoundingly. So my sense is we're going to see a lot more Tim Walz clips over the next few years. They'll be pretty funny. So we'll see. God bless him.
Governor,
good luck, Minnesota.
Governor,
good luck with that.
I just can't believe, though, Governor, that he has the audacity to bring up identity politics after the Democratic Party. And, by the way, that ticket of Harris Walz drove identity politics to the top of the mountain until it eventually fell. And, by the way, here's how it felt. Look at this NBC poll, Governor.
I think it was Tim Walz that said, you ain't woke enough, right? Yeah. You were never woke enough for those guys. It was crazy. Yeah.
Well, look at the effect, though. Look at this NBC poll. There's a plus 41 net positive margin for white men when it comes to Donald Trump. But when it comes to white college-educated women, it's a negative 38. In fact, when you break this down every step of the way, the one demographic that is embracing DEI, embracing the Democratic Party, is white college-educated women.
Yeah, look, I'll say this about that stat. I'm focused on the working class Americans that are coming over to the Republicans because they've been kind of used and abused by the Democrat Party, got nothing out of it for decades and decades, and they're finally saying enough is enough. And so when I talk to a lot of folks, whether it's white college-educated women, they tend to be a little more elitist. They tend to kind of lean to that side. They think that paying taxes is their charitable good cause of the day. But at the end of the day, it's working class Americans that make this country, that built this country, right? And we stand on the shoulders of those families that whether they stood a post in the military or worked in a factory, we stand on the shoulders of them with the benefits that we have in this country, and they've been kind of used politically by the other side. And finally, they're saying enough is enough. And that's why, a year ago, so many of us knew that Trump was going to win this thing because of one key number. It wasn't the national poll number. It was watching both African-American voters and Latino voters move over to the Republican side in numbers that had never been seen before in a presidential race. So why is Trump doing the tariff stuff? Because he's supporting long-term, rebuilding America, manufacturing in America. He doesn't want this country to be a country of just service operators and information, right? We have to be a country that builds stuff. That's what we do best. That's where our innovation is. And politically, that's where we're going to help ourselves. So going back to your original question, the Democrat Party is running around in circles, yelling at themselves with their hair on fire. They don't know what they're about. They got to figure it out eventually. So let's not take that for granted. But I say while the iron is hot, let's strike, let's throw some gasoline on that fire and make sure we're touting the manufacturing working class that makes this that makes this country so great.
But one more example of how they're running around trying to figure out who they are. It's not just among the electorate, it's among the leaders as well. And Nancy Pelosi is sort of throwing Chuck Schumer under the bus. Watch.
It's about what comes next. I myself don't give away anything for nothing. And I think that's what happened the other day. We could have, in my view, perhaps gotten them to agree to a third way, which was a bipartisan CR for 4 weeks, in which we could have had bipartisan legislation to go forward.
The entire Democratic Party seems to be lining up right now, not just against Elon Musk and Donald Trump, but Chuck Schumer.
Well, they're lining up in front of the bus because one by one, they're all going to throw each other under that bus because it's all a blame game. You said this, I did that. It's all just pointing fingers. And whether it's from Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all the way down the line to AOC and go to every last member of Congress on the Democrat side, they don't know what they're about. They're going to blame each other. There's no sense of responsibility of, hey, maybe we should have listened to America. Maybe we actually should have opened our ears and got out of this bubble of Washington, D.C. and connected with voters and not taken them for granted and just drove on this ultra-progressive wing. And so now, I mean, what are they doing this week? They're literally defending getting rid of murderers and rapists, right? They're saying, no, we had to turn those planes around. That's crazy. No one in America agrees with that. They're defending getting rid of someone who promoted Hamas, a student who encouraged other students to commit violence and break the law. We're getting rid of people like that, and the Democrats are trying to support him. Good luck. Keep with that. Let's see how far that goes. I think they're just on a merry-go-round of blame. I think 2026 is not going to be a typical midterm. I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity here for Republicans, but we got to find the right candidates and light the fire.
We'll see if that opportunity includes you, Governor, if you decide to run for Senate in New Hampshire. I hope you'll let us know here first. Okay.
We'll see.
That's not encouraging. Yeah, that's not encouraging. Okay. Thank you, Governor. Appreciate your time.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.